it's the first time that we will be focusing, or rather looking at the issue of exporting from the customs broker perspective. You know, we always hear about these persons on a domestic basis, particularly when I think about getting a barrel, you know what I mean? But as business persons, exporting and importing is important. And we want to ensure that we are using up the expertise and the professionals that are in place to support our MSMEs as they, you know, try to advance the businesses that they are doing. So this morning, we have with us a very important gentleman in the customs broking and freight forwarding industry, and that would be Mr. Clive Coke, who is the president of the Customs Broking and Freight Forwarders Association of Jamaica. He's a leading customs broker in Jamaica's shipping and logistics industry, who has been credited locally and internationally as a strategic thinker and results-oriented professional in international trade management. He's the owner and managing director of World Trade E-Logistics Jamaica. And since 2020, as I said before, he has been the president of the Customs Brokers and Freight Forwarders Association of Jamaica. This is where he has skillfully balanced the requirements of his business with the demanding growth and development agenda of the CBFFAJ, the largest professional and advocacy body of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean since 1965. So Mr. Coke is very well positioned to share with us this morning about how it is that we can use the systems and the professionals that are there for our benefit as micro and small business owners when we are undertaking importing and exporting in our businesses. So without further ado, I am going to hand over to Mr. Coke, and he will take us through. And remember, if you have questions, please do not hesitate. Drop them in the chat, because he is willing and he's ready. And he also has a cadre of persons with him who will respond to your questions when you drop them in the chat. So it's over to you, Mr. Coke.
Hi, good morning all, and thanks, Sansha, for that kind introduction. I am hopeful that everyone had a restful and reflective Easter weekend, and that we are here this morning all kicking to go. All right, so I know that these webinars are designed for those of us in the productive sector, the MSMEs, and it is a known fact that the MSMEs accounts for some 80% of the employment within the country. So it's a very important sector. The government and Minister Hill in particular, that we have had some amount of interface with recently, you know, have been highlighting the importance of this sector. So when we got this invitation by the JBDC to come here today, it was certainly, we certainly accepted without hesitation, because as custom brokers, we do recognize the importance of the sector. So this morning, I really want to share with you, the intent is to share with you, you know, how as custom brokers, we play a role in this effort of nation building and improve production, and the role that we play as custom brokers, and to help you to understand how, as custom broker professionals, we can help you to really to be on a platform to compete globally, right? And to share our experience and expertise in helping you to reach those goals. So it is really a pleasure for us to be here, and for the next 2 hours, I am certainly looking to have a very interactive exchange with all of you. And certainly, I am sure much value will be achieved by attending this webinar. And I'm happy to see the amount of persons. I think Sancha did a great job. It's a holiday weekend, so I was concerned this being the first day of the week after the long weekend. But so I'm happy to see so many persons joining at this early stage. And I do have some members here, a few members on the platform also, because it's a profession where you never know everything. So I look forward to your questions, and I have some colleagues who will assist me in addressing any concern which you may so have. So again, welcome, and so happy to be here this morning. Of course, what we will be looking on this morning is why every business entrepreneur needs custom broker. And I am positive that at the end of the presentation, that will be demonstrated to you. All right, so let's jump straight into the why of our webinar today. So Jamaica is an important maritime state that sits on the doorstep of the largest consumer market in the world, in the form of North America, with access to the largely untapped market of South America, Brazil, and other big economies of the South. So just by virtue of our location, we are already at an advantage, I would think, in terms of global trade and positioning, and also in a position to become a logistics-centered economy. And we have a very large market of North America, where we already have I would say a ready-made market, because so many of our Jamaicans already live in the US and in Canada, where there's certainly grounds for improvement, in speaking to professionals, trade professionals, is in South America, and we already would have been seeing the importance of BRICS, which Brazil is a huge part of that. And this, by estimate, is an $80 billion market, and it's certainly an area for exploration. I know there may be some challenges in terms of the language barrier and so on, but it's certainly an area of growth for the Jamaican entrepreneur. Okay. All right. So if you're a Jamaican business person looking to produce goods for these markets, as mentioned earlier, you would need to consistently access raw materials to produce goods, which are then re-exported to your target market. And the main aim this morning is to convince you and to state to you that due to the intricacies of the logistics sector and the different rules in the various jurisdictions in terms of getting your produce to market, we think, and also it is the view of the government, and that is why we have licensed custom brokers, that the professionals should really focus on that and allow you as business persons to focus on production and packaging, marketing, and really getting your goods into these markets, right? So we do know, and Minister Hill again has been, and I know that the JBDC falls under his ministry, he has been blunt. He has been upfront in telling us that we're really not going to see significant growth. We're not going to become the next Singapore by just selling to those persons, to just selling to persons within Jamaica. We are going to have to look beyond Jamaica to these markets in order to really realize to realize growth. And as custom brokers, this is where we think we can play a role, and we have been playing a role. And we certainly, another one of the reasons why we did not hesitate to be a part of this export series. Let me let's move into the next slide. Right. So who are custom brokers? Let me start with a definition. And this definition is taken from the International Federation of Custom Brokers Association. And it states, custom brokers operate at the very center of international trade, are the catalyst that makes trade happen efficiently and within the boundaries of the law. Custom brokers contribute to national prosperity and competitiveness by managing the movement of goods across borders and supporting compliance strategies of importers and exporters. So again, whenever, and even by virtue of this definition, it is you cannot look on trade in a silo, because you also have to consider border security, and you also have to consider risk management, right? Because there are some persons who want to trade, and it is not the kind of goods that affects the economy in a positive way. So it is one of the things as custom brokers that we are mindful of, and we pay keen attention as it relates to the security of the border. You would have seen a story, it was recently in the paper, where Jamaica Customs sent out a press release to say that they warn against taking in feathers for carnival costume into Jamaica without a permit. And there was a huge backlash from persons to say that customs should really be focusing on other activities and not necessarily bothering themselves about feathers. But I'm sure that our colleagues at the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, would completely disagree with that, because unfortunately, feathers is one of those things that can actually bring disease into the country, which could be a threat to our plants and our animals here in Jamaica. So it's one of the things that we have to be mindful of as custom brokers. So while we want to assist the entrepreneur and we want to assist the MSMEs in moving quickly and in moving efficiently, we also have to bear in mind that the security of the country and the security of our borders are taken into consideration. For those of us who may not be aware of the International Federation of Custom Brokers, as I said, we have adopted this definition of the custom broker from them. They are really a global body of custom brokers. I think it's the most recognized group of body of representing custom brokers globally, of which CBFFAJ, we are members of that association. And this body actually represent custom broker and is also the current chair of the private sector consultative group at WCO. So what the group does, is to bring the concerns of the private sector to customs. So they are in that forum where they are able to state in an authoritative way to the World Customs Organization. These are the policies that we think you ought to be pursuing. These are some of the policies that we think will help entrepreneurs like those of you on the platform to grow. And the current chair is actually a custom broker in the form of Mr. Jaime King. Mr. King is out of Mexico, and he's a current chair that is really doing a lot for importers and representing the cause of importers at the WCO level. So let me give you a simpler definition of the custom broker. And so what we are, we're really licensed agents and representing the interests of importers and exporters with Jamaica custom agencies, and of course with other border regulatory agencies. And yes, I did see a definition which went out with the flyer, and that was lifted from the customs regulation, directly from the custom regulations. But the truth is that custom brokers has really gotten much more dynamic, and that is why we would have seen the amendments being done to the Custom Act, which is currently in the Parliament, and now we are in the process of looking on amendments to the customs regulations. So why a custom broker? Who are custom brokers? So under the custom regulations and also the regulations which we have seen so far, whenever you import goods, commercial or personal, with a value exceeding 5,000 US, you're required to use the services of a licensed custom broker. And I saw some data coming out of a speech that Minister Hill recently gave, where it was provided that there are some 700,000 active importers. These may not be big importers, but that's the data, and also 16,000 exporters. No, it would be a huge pull on the resources of the government to be interfacing with 700 importers and 16,000 exporters, and hence, in terms of the efficiency of logistics and getting goods across the border in a seamless manner, the government have seen it fit to work through custom brokers, and we do think there has been much value to the country, value to traders, and we are very proud of the job that we have been doing as custom brokers. Right. So again, what we tend to do is look globally and what is happening. And in some countries, it is not compulsory to use the services of a custom broker. But for example, we look at a country like Canada, where it's not compulsory to use the service of a custom broker, but 90% of all imports in Canada are handled by custom brokers. And as I said, again, it makes good sense, because when the business of trade, there are many complexities, and mistakes in trade is very expensive. It leads to delays, it leads to fines, it leads to breaches, and certainly many business operators and many huge corporations, when we speak to our colleagues globally, they will tell you that these companies tend to use a custom broker, even in the case where it's not mandated by law to use a custom broker. So obviously, the value is there. The value is there, and as custom broker, we are happy of that role that we continue to play, to have this seamlessness in trade across borders. So now, to tell I'll tell you a little bit about the Custom Brokers and Freight Forwarders Association. So the vast majority of custom brokers are members of CBFFAJ. We are, and CBFFAJ is the foremost professional body of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean, comprising of licensed custom brokers, logisticians, and professionals engaged in custom clearance and third-party logistics processes in the trade of goods in and out of Jamaica. We were founded in 1965 as the Custom Brokers Association of Jamaica. And this would have been just 3 years after independence. And we continue to be as a vibrant body. We actually work closely with our colleagues in the CARICOM region, and we continue to invest significantly in training for our members. And you can rest assured that the CBFFAJ, if there's an issue that you have in trade, if there's a market that you need to explore, this is an organization that you can certainly turn to for assistance. Again, the importance of custom clearance. Now, the custom clearance. All right, so the custom clearance. So custom brokers possess the competence and knowledge in trade processes and procedure to effectively move goods in and out of the island. The modernization of customs and the professionalism of custom brokers are a winning formula to speed up the pace of trade to get goods in and out of the country at optimal efficiency and at world-class standards. Now, Jamaica have been made in strides as it relates to the ease of doing business and also the logistics performance index, right? And the custom clearance process continues to be a critical matrix where these two indexes are concerned. Currently, in the ease of doing business, we are ranked at in the 70s. I think we're currently at 71 out of 190 economies. And at the logistic performance index, we are ranked at 70 out of 160 countries. And I can tell you, you know, having been in several forums and having discussion with my colleagues globally, that investors pay attention to these rankings and reports. Whenever importers, business persons are going to invest, they're going to look on the how easily it is for them to do business in a particular country. Persons don't just invest out of a gut feeling. It's going to have to be out of real hard-nosed research and good data. And persons want to be sure that their investments are safe and they are moving into an environment that there will be growth for their business. Yes, I do know that as it relates to the ease of doing business report, there would have been some challenges in recent times as to the credibility of that index, but I have seen where the World Bank has implemented some new policies to address those concerns, and the methodologies have been reviewed. And we look forward to having that important matrix back on track in moving forward. Right, so on this slide, we're gonna look on the scope of services which is provided by the custom broker, because oftentimes I don't think a lot of persons realize, you know, just how widely the custom broker is involved in commerce in the country, right? So it states here that from manufacturing to commercial goods for the wholesale and retail trade are heavy duty equipment motor vehicles, petroleum supplies, food and agriculture supplies, pharmaceuticals, you name it. Custom brokers are experts in the classification of traded products using the harmonized system managed by custom authorities around the world to identify products when assessing duties, taxes, and for gathering statistics. And of course, the harmonized system is administered by the WCO, of which the International Federation serves on that board, and it is updated every 5 years. So, colleagues, every farmer in this country who would have, had, fertilizers imported, animal feed imported, that would have been touched by a custom broker. There would have been involvement by a custom broker, right? Every item that you touch in the supermarket, which has been imported, or in the corner store somewhere in Manchester or Portland, there would have been some input by the custom broker. Now, in terms of the classification of goods, I think this is one of the areas in which custom brokers differentiate themselves from other practitioners in the logistics sector. Custom brokers are knowledgeable in the classification of goods, and this is very important. It's very important, and I can tell you, we would have seen a lot of new players in the industry, and the classification of goods presents a challenge. And for business persons, bear in mind that the customs can come back to you after 2 years to say that the correct duty, the correct classification on a particular item was not done. And so it is very important that you get it right from day one. And bear in mind again that at this point, you would have disposed of these items, based on the duties which you would have paid. So it is critically important that you get your correct classification of your products by way of using the harmonized system. Another concern for custom brokers is the concern about the environment. It's another area again which we pay keen attention. So Jamaican custom brokers are mindful of environmental concerns in performing their duties in the trade facilitation process. Environmental crime and the raft of illegal activities that cause damage and harm to the environment, such as the trade and disposal of waste and hazardous substances in contravention of international laws, are important for us as custom brokers and the CBFFAJ. So we often do training with NEPA, as persons in trade, advising of some of the things that we should be looking out for during the inspection of the cargo. We have also done sessions with the Canadian Trade Commissioner, and this being on climate smart opportunities. And so this was a webinar which was focused on business persons who are involved in solar, in renewable energies, and trading these sort of things which are taking the consideration of the environment, taking a look on the environment itself. Some of us were in Singapore in December at a conference, and one of the things which stood out to me, and I think to many of my colleagues, to my other colleagues actually, would have been the focus of the Singaporean people, the business people, the government, on sustainability in trade. Because as many of us would probably know, Singapore is 15 times smaller than Jamaica. and we are ranked at number 70 on the Logistic Performance Index. They are ranked at, last time I checked, they were at number 7 for such a small nation, right? So, but and it was just amazing that everywhere you went, there was this constant focus on sustainability, sustainability, sustainability. So it's one of those things that custom brokers also, that we have to guide our client to ensure that whenever you're importing, you know, certain sort of refrigerants, certain sort of chemicals, that they meet established standards. So it's another way in which you as business people benefit from, you know, the training and the knowledge set of custom brokers. And I guess to close off this section, my team has a photograph of the current executive. But I know there's 2 females who are missing, so you will see that the executive is predominantly females. So for those of you females who maybe after this morning we'll have a greater liking for custom brokerage, this is certainly a field that you could look at. There's already a lot of successful females in the industry, and there are successful males also, but certainly I think I would have to verify with the secretary, but I think that there's more female members than males. I'm sure, but the secretary can always verify that. Next slide. Right. So this particular slide, it's the only slide which you will just find with 4 words, and it is so important that you know that as business people, you do your due diligence as it relates to employing someone purporting to be a custom broker or purporting to do the function of a custom broker, right? So as president of CBFFAJ, and I work closely with the secretariat, you know, we get many complaints from the public as it relates to issues with persons who they deem to be custom brokers, because that's apparently it's a way of persons who are in the logistics sector to pass off themselves as custom brokers, and it has been an issue for us. And I can tell you as the president that 99.9% of the complaints that we get, it is when we do our checks, it's actually not a custom broker. It's not a custom broker. So for example, if somebody comes to you and is saying that they'll be able to give you an estimate how much to clear your goods without without being presented with your invoices and other shipping documents, chances are they are not a licensed custom broker, right? Another factor, well, this is actually on the import side, or it could be oftentimes you hear about auctions on the port, and you know, if you get a call from somebody stating that there's a BMW X6 being sold for $4 million 2020, chances are it's not true, and chances are that person who is purporting to be a custom broker is not a custom broker. So please, I want to use this opportunity and this platform to appeal to you to do your due diligence, and we will get to how you will be able to verify that the person is a custom broker. Now, so this slide speaks to doing the right thing and urging business persons to hire only licensed custom brokers. And just to emphasize that, as custom brokers, we must undergo security clearance annually. We must be tax compliant. We must provide a list of all our employees to customs, and we are licensed every single year. So oftentimes I get calls from my members and they will say, Mr. President, we must be the most regulated profession. And that certainly has some merit to it. In addition to that, we have to put up a bond with customs, right? So the gentleman in this image, and by the way, that's a disclaimer, I got this image from our social media pages. I don't know the person, if it is a person, but I do know he's not a custom broker, because I think I know every custom broker. But just to make the point to business persons that not because you may go on the port, because sometimes persons may go onto the port and then have some issues in clearing their goods. They see somebody in a hard hat and they see somebody in a vest and maybe complete with a clipboard, and the person may pass themselves off and say, oh yes, I am a broker. Because what has been happening in the industry, especially since COVID, is that there has just been an explosion of persons who are into e-commerce and have been, the Amazon effect. And there are a lot of persons who have popped up, who have opened small businesses, and they're out and they're there, many of them passing themselves as brokers. Remember again that yes, some of them are authorized to act, but they are only allowed to handle cargo at a value below 5,000 US, because they don't have the skill sets. They are not trained, they are not licensed, they are not regulated. So again, I urge you, as we said, to do the right thing and to do your due diligence and to ensure that anybody that you're getting into business with is a licensed broker. So I'm sure you will ask the question, how can you verify that someone is a licensed broker? And there's actually a gazetted list of all custom brokers in Jamaica. And this list goes to the parliament and it is published. It is usually on customs website, and I think it's usually on our website. But to verify that somebody is a broker, you can always check the gazetted list. It's online, you can search for it, or you can check with the CBFFAJ Secretariat, or you can check with Jamaica Customs Agency. And this is, and just for information purposes, to state that not all custom brokers are members of the CBFFAJ. So that first bullet point that speaks to all custom brokers authorized by the Custom Brokers Licensing and Advisory Board are on this gazetted list. So for example, if you call our secretariat, there may be a custom broker who would be unknown to our secretariat, but the gazetted list certainly has all the custom brokers listed there. And of course, if you're able to view the screen, you will see that their names are there, the addresses, their license number are all captured. So the 100% of all custom brokers would be on this list. As I said, some 200, which is by far the majority of brokers. The majority of brokers are members of our association. And we do have policies in place to deal with issues which may pop up with our members. For those who are non-members, it's difficult for us, even though when the public perhaps make contact with customs, they are referred to us, but there's a limitation to what we can do when they are not members. So we urge persons, certainly in this forum, to seek to do business with CBFFAJ, or seek to do business with other custom brokers then that you're able to verify on this list. Because some of the times, and I'm happy that the names and addresses are here, sometimes you will get a complaint from a member of the public that they're having an issue with a logistics practitioner, right? Because they are not brokers. And you ask them, okay, what is the name of this person? And sometimes you get a first name, his name is Trevor. What's the surname? They are not sure, right? So it has been an issue in the industry, and it has been an issue in the industry. And I'm happy for the opportunity to say to persons, I know that, we being MSMEs, sometimes we're looking to the cheapest way to get a service, or or to as best as possible. We'll probably do some analysis, or we'll probably hear some story from a particular person to say that sorry about that, to say that I can get your cargo clear. But again, we say, do your due diligence. Okay, sorry about it. Good. All right, so the next slide again, it's continuing to look and why do you need a custom broker and some of the things that we do. So one of the things that we do is actually to advocate for MSMEs like yourselves who may not have a voice when there are issues on the ports, when there are issues at Ministry of Health, when there are issues at the Bureau of Standards. So one of the things that we do is advocate on behalf of importers and exporters with several agencies, including Jamaica Customs and private sector entities like the Kingston Freeport Terminal, to decrease bureaucracies and increase efficiencies in trade. So this particular photograph was taken in December when we were having some serious delays on the port. So in the white helmet is my vice president and port's chairperson, Hazelyn Brown, and of course, I didn't know they were going to use this photograph, but that's me in the yellow helmet, with a very serious face, and of course, in the middle is as a supervisor from Kingston Freeport Terminal. So as I said, most of us will remember in December there were serious delays. So we actually went down to the port to get a first-hand look as to what was happening. Reached out to customs, and we eventually had to reach out to the media. So it was quite a fight with customs, but we did manage to get some success, and they did make some changes because, as I said, while we do support border protection and we know the seriousness of what it entails, we have to analyze that, and that is why we actually went on the ground to see what is happening in this particular instance. So we have to try and make that balance between border protection and trade. So that's one of the things that we do as CBFFAJ, and it's a very big part of what we do, advocating for SMEs like yourself. All right, so this slide actually shows you a list of the border regulatory agencies. And here we have the Trade Board, Bureau of Standards, Pesticides Control Authority, the Veterinary Services Division, Plant Quarantine, the Pharmaceutical, there's JACRA, Hazardous Substance Regulatory Authority, Spectrum Management Authority, Spirit Pools Limited. Now there are about 20, we didn't bother to list all 20. There are about 20 border regulatory agencies. And I'm sure many of us that are here this morning probably are knowing of some of these for the first time. For example, Spectrum Management Authority, perhaps. But just to state that, you know, as traders, for example, you may be importing a drone, you know, and you're thinking that, well, you know, a drone, it's really a toy, so it shouldn't be a problem. But that actually needs a permit from Spectrum Management Authority. So if you import a drone, maybe to help in photography or some other activities or for social purposes, you'll end up having a breach without getting a permit for this, right? Often, again, there are many items with persons and business persons, you know, would not imagine that require a permit. For example, forklifts, you know, you may be running production and you decide to grow your business, you decide to buy a forklift, maybe a forklift somewhere. A forklift requires an import permit, just as a motor car. So it's very important to check with your custom broker prior to making your purchases, because even if you're able to acquire the permit when the item gets here, one, you're going to be breached, and then two, that's going to lead to delays. And we all know that delays on the port, you know, leads to additional charges, cutting right into your into your margins. So there's so many items that require a permit. It's really difficult as a small business person to keep tab on all of them. So again, this is another role that we pride ourselves on as custom brokers, to be aware of all of these agencies. And yes, there have been arguments that there may be too many, but until we get to that point where some of them have been removed, then we certainly have to do our part as custom brokers to ensure that when your imports get here, you're not in breach. So another reason why it is so important to make contact with your custom broker prior to importation. Right. Okay. So it is actually captured on this slide to say that custom brokers have to keep updated on all the latest laws, rules, and policy required by the BRAs, which must be adhered to in importing and exporting. Failure to adhere to these rules and regulations could result in breaches, detention, or even dumping of your goods. And I can share with you, as I'm seeing this section about dumping of your goods. Just recently there was an issue with a container of yam, which went to the US, and it had to be dumped. It had to be dumped, and it actually cost the exporter 10,000 US to pay to dump the product. So again, very important, and we would have seen a highlight there on the word latest, because persons are constantly, the agencies actually are constantly reviewing their policies, maybe not the laws, but reviewing the policies and their rules, because at times there may be an outbreak of outbreak of some plant disease in the US, and as a result of that, you know, Ministry of Agriculture make some changes. The good thing with custom brokers and with us here at the CBFFAJ is that we are usually informed in a timely fashion of these changes, and we can quickly reach out to you as importers to say that, you know, this is what is happening. These are the changes which need to be made. Or it could even be that sometimes Jamaica will put a ban on certain products, you know. So we'll have to reach out to you to say you cannot import these products at this particular time. So another important reason why you need to work closely with your custom broker, and again, as we know, you know, these things come with big fines. It comes with damage to your reputation as an importer. It affects if maybe you're to apply to customs for maybe site inspection, or you're to if you desire to move on to the AEO program. You know, if you have these infractions, then customs may not see you as a trusted trader and to offer you these sort of opportunities. So again, very important in terms of ensuring that we are adhering to the rules from the many BRAs. Right. So this slide speaks to the trade incentives which are available for you, and also it speaks to, you know, accurately classifying your goods so that these trade incentives are actually the company actually benefit from these trade incentives, thereby ensuring that the company pays no more duties than is required. And this again is a function of the licensed custom brokers to keep updated on all these opportunities and incentives for business persons. So of course, many of you would know about the productive sector input relief, which is in place. And also, I'm sure you would know about the CARICOM free trade agreement and so on. But there's also many other incentives which from time to time we will hear from customs and even from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that there's not enough take up of a lot of these incentives. So there's agreement with, for example, Colombia, there's trade agreements. There's trade agreement with Dominica, trade agreement in Europe, and many times persons are not aware. And in terms of strategizing your business and taking advantage of these trade incentives, your custom broker again is another good source to have this kind of discussion. And as I said, the good thing is that we don't know everything as individual custom brokers, but we do have persons globally or colleagues globally, and we have other custom brokers who we lean on, and you can be assured that you will get good advice in how you can position your company and leverage your company to take a good advantage of some of these trade incentives, which may apply to your particular goods. So again, I think I have really demonstrated a whole lot of reasons why you do need a custom broker. And again, many of us here would have been in exportation. So let's say, for example, you want to enter, you're thinking about sending a shipment to Guyana, sending a shipment to Dominica. You know, every jurisdiction have different policies, different rules, different regulations, right? And so again, you need an experienced custom broker with a reliable international network who can wade through the technicalities so that you can remain focused on production. So again, as a small company, it's going to be difficult, if not unattainable, to keep track of everything that is happening globally. The good thing again with brokers, we work with freight forwarders, we work with shippers, we work with other logistics practitioners. We keep in touch with the International Federation of Custom Brokers. At the Secretariat, we constantly, get new information from custom brokers in China, Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean region. We have a close working relationship with the Caribbean Association of Custom Brokers. So it all gets down to networking, and as they say, show me your network work, and I will show you your net worth, right? So it works for us, and it is one of the advantage which as traders you can also seek to benefit. You can seek to benefit from this. So again, as made mention earlier, an experienced custom broker knows the global trade market and can be a great source for your company, right? A broker can strategize with you, by talking to custom, by talking to our colleagues globally. We can strategize with you. We can strategize with you on how to get to some of these markets which are lucrative, right? And we understand the trade agreements. As I said, all of us may not know all of us may not know everything. So one particular custom broker may not know everything, but collectively we can get the information. We can certainly get the information for you, and we continue to have that strong network that we can reach out. We can always reach out for assistance in exploring any new market which you may be thinking of bringing your goods into. And as I said, whenever you talk to a custom broker, the custom broker is a person that really understands the ins and outs of custom. Because when you talk to, for example, a forwarder, they will have a limited knowledge of the industry. But here in Jamaica, custom brokers are also into freight forwarding, because the industry is dynamic. No more does a custom broker only affect the clearance of goods, when it gets into the country, but custom brokers are involved from the get-go, from before the goods are purchased. We can make the shipping arrangement with freight forwarders. We can have alliances with shippers and move into to deliver the cargo to your door, right? And that is why I would have made mention earlier that the industry has really gotten so much more dynamic than what it was maybe even in the 90s and thereabout, when many of us just handle the clearance of goods on the wharf. But there's so much more, and we have at CBFFAJ, we really have invested into a lot into training, and the members are constantly training and getting updates from customs, and certainly it's a good source for the SMEs to lean on in order to push your business forward. So again, as custom brokers, we have a positive working relationship with Jamaica Customs and the other border regulatory agencies. We don't always agree all the time, but we do understand, what has to be done for trade in the country, and we continue to work in a collaborative way. And certainly one of our goals now is to keep you updated on the latest laws and rules, and to ensure that you can focus on your business and not have to worry if you're breaking any laws. As I mentioned earlier, your reputation is very important in trade. Oftentimes, if you don't have a problem with customs, the truth is, if you haven't presented some kind of issue, they won't have an issue with you. But once you run into some kind of breach, then it usually creates issue for you as a trader in taking your goods through customs in a seamless way. And I think wrapping up now. Right. And again, just some photos here of custom brokers, and a photo there of us with our Minister Hill. And to say that one of the things with custom brokers is that we are also business persons. We are private business persons. So we understand business. We understand that at times margins, you may not be big margins. So you really have to be assertive. You have to really you have to really have your wheels to the shoulder. So we do understand where small business persons are coming from, and we continue to invest significantly in member education, training, and development. We have a training coming up later this month, right? And so I'm going to end this presentation by saying to you, if you're looking for a great professional custom broker, do check with our secretariat for a list of our members. And I'm sure it will bring much value to your business. Like I say, I know that some of my colleagues are here to help to answer any questions or concerns which you may have. And so I look forward to those comments, and I really thank you guys for staying here with me, and I certainly hope that I would have bring some value to you this Tuesday morning as this export series begins. So I want to thank you, and at this point I will hand back over to moderator Ms. Campbell.
Information, a lot of things for us to chew on while we go through this series. I want to, say that for the next part of the series, just prefacing the next part of the series, we're going to be talking about trade languages. I noticed a lot of that coming out in your presentation when you talked about, meeting with the Canadian delegation and stuff like that, and going into the Singapore market. The thing is that what we want to ensure that our entrepreneurs are able to do is to not just think about export and sending out goods and bringing in goods, but also knowing what to send and what to bring. I never knew about the feathers. When you mentioned the feathers in the news the other day, I found out that, You know, there are certain things that you just can't just get up and import. And without the knowledge of someone like a professional customs broker, you would never know something like that. Now, I wrote down a couple of questions, and there are also a few in the chat that we're going to go through as well. But one of the most burning questions, Mr. Coke, is what are the fees associated with engaging a customs broker? You're a business person. What kind of money am I talking about if I have a shipment and I need your support?
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Ms. Campbell. All right. Well, I know that prior to Jamaica adopting the free market approach, you know, a custom broker's rate would be maybe 1 to 2.5% of the CIF value. But currently, it is really the market which determines the rate and of custom brokers. And especially, I do know that as it relates to exports, I do know that custom brokers do offer a reduced rate for exporters, because we do recognize the importance of export to the economy and to the growth of the country. So there's not a set rate. A custom broker will probably look on the scope of the work and put some value to the work. But I can assure you it's a reasonable fee which most custom broker will charge. And believe me, as president, I tell you that sometimes when you hear maybe have some figures that it's up in the sky, sometimes it's not even a licensed custom broker. Because again, if a particular importer has an issue with the fee which was charged by a broker, we at the association can certainly take a look at that and guide them and to see if it's a reasonable fee or it is really was out of work. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Coke. And I know that you said that there is a listing of your licensed customs brokers on your website, but the truth is not many persons would take time to look up for a licensed broker online. So is there a mark when you go to a customs broker's office, whether it's a certificate or something that indicates that this is a licensed customs broker?
Yes, certainly. There's actually a physical license which you get from custom yearly, and that is usually displayed in the custom broker's office. The truth is, where we find persons having issue with persons out there, some of these persons don't even have a registered office, because that is one of the requirement of being a custom broker. You must have an established and registered office. So as I said, sometimes it is someone referring this person to an importer to say, hey, this is the person that clears my goods. And without doing their due diligence, they decided to start using our oftentimes, as I said, it's the stories that they tell to say that oh, I can get your goods at this price, you know, and believe me, the importers end up in a lot of problems. But certainly our experience has been that licensed custom brokers themselves, you know, will have their offices, have the certificate. Usually, if it's a member of CBFFAJ, they have a certificate from CBFFAJ in their office. So it can be verified.
All right, great. And just for clarity, most custom brokers would be located in Kingston and St. Andrew or across the island?
Well, it would be, well, it's really where the two ports, the two major ports are located. So we do have several members operating in Montego Bay also. There are a few in the St. Anne region, but more so within Kingston and St. Andrew and Montego Bay. We have quite a few members in Montego Bay.
Okay, great. All right, so I have a question here from Nicole Coates, I'm sorry. On the matter of permits, why does the Ministry of Health has to mark off the yellow permits when the goods arrive and not before? This takes up to 7 working days and the importer is sometimes charged DEMURRAGE, you know what that is? Demurrage. I hope I'm pronouncing it.
Demurrage, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
because
yes,
it takes
certainly.
so long. So she's asking, why do they have to mark off the permits when the goods arrive instead of before the goods arrive?
Right. Thanks for the question. So I think that's actually a control measure in that they will issue the permit for the goods, but then they want to be able to capture that the statistic as to exactly what was imported, and hence they tend to wait until the goods is actually here before issuing that second permit. So that would, you know, and yes, I can relate to the difficulty with that agency, and I think I know it happens at JACRA, Jamaica Commodities, Jamaica Agricultural Commodities. That's an issue, and yes, the demurrage is a huge concern because demurrage can run you. Demurrage is usually about 120 US per day on a container. And many of these shipping lines, you will probably get 7 or 8 free days. And after this period, you're really paying, you know, close to 20,000 Jamaican dollars per day for demurrage. So it is a concern. And as a matter of fact, we had actually reached out to customs to have discussions with these ministries who operate in this manner, you know, to see what can be done to at least speed up the process. But it's really a control mechanism why it is done in that way.
Okay, there's a school of thought that says that customs is onerous in terms of the process of going to the customs office to try to clear something. Tell us, I mean, you've given us quite a number of reasons why it is that MSMEs really need to tap into the customs brokers and utilizing licensed customs brokers. But how can we guarantee the efficiency? Aren't you going to go through the same processes that we would go through? Or is it that you have like a second line where only you alone can join that line?
All right. I thank for the question. Thanks for the question, Ms. Campbell. All right, I think you know what makes a difference. Yes, it is difficult for us as custom broker, and it is frustrating at times. As I said, what makes the difference, I think, is our experience. Because you know we are on the port every day. We are interfacing with customs, with customs every day. You know, yes, it is onerous and there are difficulties, but you know, there's actually been improvement. There have been improvement. For example, we are now using, you know, acid powder, which is accessible 24 hours per day. We see the customs and the government, again, through the Ministry of Investment and Commerce, investing in JSwift, which is really bringing that platform for these border regulatory agencies. So it continues to be a challenge. It continues to be a challenge, but one of the strong arguments that customs will come with is the issue of border protection, and protecting the country from disease, and that's the argument. That is not all about revenue. I know oftentimes and most times the dispute is over revenues, where persons will tell you, oh, they imported. I've seen it all the while, and they imported a pair of shoes that they paid. They bought it for $70, and they end up having to pay $20,000 for duty. So the concerns are there, but again, customs will tell you that it is based on the policy from the Ministry of Finance, and that they are just executing their function. They don't set the policies. So maybe one of the things that where at least the duties are concerned, you can lobby the government for reduced duty. But as I said, the big concern, or the big argument coming from customs why it is so difficult to do business with them at times is border protection. And as you know, the issues with ammunition and guns and drugs and the sort coming into the country, which is also a function of customs.
Yeah, and as I noticed when you're responding a while ago, you mentioned the JSwift. I just want to say that, we have had quite a number of these programs being explained right here on the virtual BizZone. We started the BizZone back in April 2020 when the pandemic hit. We have talked about JSwift. We've talked about the productive sector input relief. And of course, we've had the Jamaica Customs Agency on several times, to talk about the different programs and benefits for our MSMEs. So I want to encourage everyone today that is online and those that have stayed with us for the duration of the program to check out the MIIC website, miic.gov.jm, Jamaica Customs as well, and look at some of the benefits that are there for MSMEs. Once you are a registered business, you can access these benefits. Final question for you, Mr. Coke. I know that when the pandemic hit, one of the biggest challenges that we had was the movement of goods both in and out of the country. How are the delays now? How easy is it for MSMEs to access goods when they make an order? How soon? Are the delays still a problem?
Well, yes, because in discussion with the ports, there are still delays, and I think maybe 2 months ago there was an article in the paper that spoke to the dwell time of container on the port. So the argument would have been made that that it is because persons are using the port for storage. And that may be a part of the issue. But we do also know that the customs implemented a bond requirement in January, which came into effect in January. And we also think as an association that is creating some amount of delays also for freight forwarder to move, especially the less than container load goods from off the port, because now you have to actually have a bond of 3.5 million to move a container, whereas the bond requirement was not being enforced previously. So persons would have had a bond of 3 million and would have been able to move 4 or 5 containers from the port. But now with the new policy, you can only move 1 container. So what you find happening now is that whereas a freight forwarder would probably have 1 bill of lading with 4 or 5 containers, they're having now to split those shipments onto individual containers. So it's creating delays, it's creating bottleneck, and the volumes are down now. And maybe that is why you don't really see the headlines as to the delays on the port, because the port reports that the volumes are down currently. But I'm sure as it proceeds further into the summer months, when importation increases, there's going to be issues. So we are not past those delays on the port.
Who has had goods stuck on the port since last year, August.
I missed a part of the question. Could you just repeat it for me, please?
No, she is saying that apparently there was a purchase made through a shipping company, and the goods that she has been stuck on the port since last year, August.
Yes, certainly. Yes, I think I can relate to that. And it is one of the reasons, Ms. Campbell, why I would have spent the amount of time, saying to do your due diligence, because there have been similar issues on the port. And can I tell you, a lot of those companies would have been companies who were formed since 2020, thereabout, right? So we have really argued with customs to seek to assist these persons, because we get the calls at the association. We get many calls as it relates to those type of shipments. We have reached out to customs, but the difficulty with some of them is that customs have been demanding invoices, because these containers contain goods for, and those are the only containers I know which have been stuck since that length of time, So it contains goods for several persons, maybe over 100 persons. And then I have even went as far as to call one of the operators to see what was happening, and even if we could assist from the association. But the difficulty is getting the correct documentation from all of the persons, all of the importers who have goods in those containers. So we have gone to meetings with customs, and we have pleaded with them and to state to them that, listen, it is not, maybe you're seeking to punish these shippers, but it is actually the individual importers who are really feeling the brunt, the small traders. But customs has just been insistent, and it's actually one of the reasons for this implementation of this bond that I'm talking about. It's actually one of the reasons why this bond is in place. So it's a difficult situation where those goods are concerned. The person will probably just have to, I don't know, because eventually they may end up at the auction. So maybe they will just have to continue to have dialogue with those freight forwarders, or perhaps seek to purchase it at the auction if and when those goods get to custom auction. Because under the customs regulations, under the Custom Act, the custom have a right to auction the goods after it has been in the country for 14 days, right? So that custom had also bring that argument to the discussion to say that they have been lenient because they are understanding the situation, but they claim they just have not been able to get the proper paperwork from the importers of these containers, from the logistics handlers.
So
So,
how will persons know when auctions are going to be held? Because in the case of this young lady now, in particular, and I've heard a lot of horror stories of persons, even like you call them soul traders, you know, they're
yes.
just trying to do something for themselves. And they have bought goods and they're unable to reach the person, the broker that is supposed to bring it in for them. How would they know when these auctions are going to be taking place?
Right. They actually, what just to state, the Miss Campbell, I can assure you that it's not a broker, and that is why I'm saying, everybody pass off themselves as broker, but these situation, these are e-commerce handlers primarily, and they are not brokers at all. All right, so the customs, they usually, the list, the action items are usually listed in the newspaper, and it is listed on the custom website. The thing about it in their particular case, there may not be a document, so their names may not appear on the action list, but they can certainly look for the company which they ship the item through if it gets to the auction. So they can check it's usually in the Gleaner, and also check the customs website for the
Okay.
action list.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Coke. Really good information that you have shared with us. I hope persons who have attended this morning's sessions would have gotten some really, really good information. I think I may have to invite you back, Mr. Coke, because there is so much more that we would want to learn and would want to share with our MSMEs, because this is really, really important, especially in light of the fact that, as you rightly stated, a number of e-commerce companies have popped up since the pandemic, because this is a way now where, you can start your own little business and so on. And we might even have to bring in some of these e-commerce companies and say, look here, register your business and get things going properly so that you can have a leg to stand on, get licensed and registered and formalized and all of that, because we want to ensure that we don't have too many Janelle Walkers going around. And I'm sorry to use it as an example, Miss Walker, but I can feel the disappointment in your comment that you have made, for the persons asking about the fact they're saying that they missed a lot of the session was recorded and it's going to be available on the JBDC's YouTube channel. So just go on YouTube, search for us. First thing you need to do is subscribe at JBDC Jamaica. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you will be notified when it's uploaded. And the third thing is that you can access all the other sessions that we would have done all the way back from April 2020. And the information is still valid so that you can still use it. So Mr. Coke, we want to thank you again so much for sharing with us this morning. I think the most important thing that came out this morning is two words, as Ms. Walker again said: due diligence. In everything that you are doing, do your due diligence. Any final words from you, Mr. Coke?
Yes, certainly. I know I'm not the moderator, but I know there's a question here from Mr. Smart asking that the explanation for spectrum management was not clear. Right. So just to shed a little more light on that, so that's actually another agency. I do know that whenever you're importing, I know whenever you're importing communication equipment, you have to get a permit from Spectrum. And I was saying the drones, because drones are actually a security concern for the country, I would think. So you need to consult with them bring the particulars of the drone to this agency to get a permit, because I'm saying if you go ahead and import it without getting a permit, you could end up with a breach from customs. So it's always a good idea, Mr. Smart, to check with the broker, especially if you're importing something for the first time, just to make sure that it doesn't require a permit, because you may just don't think it requires a permit, but it does, and it's going to result in delays, and as Nicole mentioned earlier, the demurrage, storage, and those sort of penalties on your shipment. Right. So yes. Right. So I just want to again close by saying thanks to you, Ms. Campbell, and the Jamaica Business Development Corporation for the session, and thanks also for the many persons who actually came out the day after a long holiday. I really do. I'm really happy that you came here, and I really trust and hope that the presentation here is of some value to the public, and we look forward to continuing the discussion as we work together in nation building. Thanks.
Mr. Coke, Mr. Dermot Morris is asking you to tell us how much is the charge for the breach.
Okay, well, yes, well, I know the breaches, some breaches can run you $50,000, some can run you $100,000, and as a matter of fact, it is just because of customs reviewing some of their policies, because years gone back, you could have been looking at as much as 500,000, but there was some discussion and they have decided to cap these penalties. So at least $50,000, and it could be 100,000. You may end up even getting breaches by more than one agency. You could get breached by customs and also get breached by the BRA. So thanks for the question, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, and I just want to say to persons, when you are doing business, just take the time and do the research. Find out, look at what you're trying to import, and just go online. Search for those organizations. There's a list of organizations that was listed in Mr. Coke's presentation. Bureau of Standards, JACRA, and some others, the trade board, all of those. Just go on and check with those organizations to ensure that what you are bringing in, that you are in line, you are doing the right things, because trust me, it costs so much more to do the wrong thing or to do it the wrong way. So just do the research and do the thing the right way, and so that we can move forward in the business instead of having to go do it over. I heard Mr. Coke talk about a company that ended up having to pay a big fee because of something that they didn't do right. We're aware of an organization that did an export into the UK, but didn't do the label rights. And when the product got to the UK border, it was returned, and the local producer here had to stand the cost of all the fees and charges. Imagine that. You don't want that to happen to you. So no. I am going to encourage you to just follow our YouTube channel, and so that you can have access to this presentation. This is a really, really good presentation that all small business persons should get to see. So tell the persons that you knew wanted to attend but didn't get a chance, go on YouTube, search for JBDC Jamaica, and hit the subscribe button. We also encourage you to follow us on our social media pages on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter, all at JBDC Jamaica. Thank you again, Mr. Coke, for being with us today. And to everyone, have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thanks to you too. Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
Great to be.